All right, it is time again for Astronomy Daily Live. I'm going to tweet the fact that I'm live, and I'm going to make sure that this thing isn't. I'm going to pop my chat out. Here it goes. Going live. Woohoo! Come on, I got to pop the chat out. Pop, pop, pop. Hope everybody's doing well out there today. Everything's good here. Another beautiful, beautiful day in southeastern Arizona. Usually is this time of year. Pretty nice. This is sort of our pre-monsoon season. Monsoon season starts around the 4th of July holiday and goes usually through September or so, where we'll have rain mostly every afternoon. Really intense thunderstorms and great lightning events and pretty intense rains at times. But that's a good month and a half away still. So we've got to get through. Uh, I mean, this is the desert, right? So I think our annual average rainfall is about is about 12 inches, 12 to 14 um, inches is pretty normal for the entire year, right? And we get about, I would say, probably about half of that, um, maybe a little bit more, um, during the monsoon season, which, as I said, is sort of the first part of July, all of August, and most of September. And then what'll happen too is that if there are any hurricanes in the Eastern Pacific, down west coast of Mexico, Baja, that kind of thing, they'll usually turn north. And of course, I mean, I'm way too far inland to actually get any of the hurricane type of weather, but we usually get like the tropical storm type of stuff. So it'll we'll we'll have some pretty good wind and some pretty good rain for that. And I remember a few years ago, we had like five of them right in a row, just bang 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 bang. So I mean, we had essentially a monsoon season from like July through like the middle of November, right? It was like just wet all the time. So that's a little unusual for the desert. Um, some people think that deserts are defined by their heat, and that is absolutely not true whatsoever. What defines a desert is the amount of rainfall or precipitation that it gets. Antarctica, I believe, at least parts of it, are or is defined as a desert because they get very little precipitation, and that's the case here. Now, in the case here too, it also gets a little hot. I'm at an elevation. I'm at like 4,500 feet, like 1,200, almost 1,300 meters above sea level. So I'm very high in terms of elevation, and so um, you know we will certainly break 100 degrees Fahrenheit, um, but usually that's pretty short lived. We'll get into the 90s for sure, and maybe low 100s, but certainly nothing like Tucson, which is I think they're around 2,500 feet, And Tucson will oftentimes get into the 110s, right, over 110. And then there's Phoenix, which will oftentimes break 120. So yeah, I really like the heat. I really like the heat. When uh, I graduated high school in May of 1987, the end of May 1987, and by something like June 16th, June 17th, June 18th, I was in Tucson. Now I had moved from Washington State, um, but I moved to Tucson in the middle of June, which is quite literally the hottest time of the year. And I think when I landed, they were on like day 20 or 25 of every day over 100 degrees. And I think that went on for another 20 or so days until the monsoons um, started. The monsoons, uh, one of the, I mean, the monsoons are awesome in so many ways, right? But one of the ways that they're really awesome, right, is that it can be 110, 115, right? And in the mornings, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, but at the same time, the clouds are building, right? They're building and building because there's just this huge amount of convection, right? Just this insane amount of convection. And so you know when it reaches its hottest point, 105, 110 or so, um, it'll rain, right? And like in a matter of minutes, it goes from like 105, 110 down to like a chilly like 75 or 70, and it's actually quite shocking. It's shocking to the system because I mean that's a 30-degree drop, just like bang, right? Um, the one thing that the cities don't experience that I definitely experience out here is the difference in temperature between day and night. Now this morning, when I went out around 6 a.m., just after sunrise, it was chilly. It was chilly. Now, okay. All you people in the cold are laughing at me. I know, I know. But it was probably in the low 50s. Probably in the low 50s. Yeah, probably not much cooler than that, right? But I mean, there was definitely sort of a chill in the air. It's like, oh man, I'm gonna get back in, right? Now, I mean, that's really nice, right? I mean, if you're working, I mean, what happens here, right, is that anybody that has to work outside, okay, this time of year, you start you start as soon as it's light enough. So you can start, 4:30 a.m. or so. You can start working outside, and you've got until about 10 o'clock or like 11 a.m. or so until it's just getting like really, it's like, oh man, I've got to get out of this, right? So you can have a good 6 hour um, outdoor work thing, and the mornings here, right, are absolutely amazing. But um, being out in the open desert, the way I am, uh, it can be in the low 50s at 6 a.m. and it'll be, close to 100 by 2 p.m. So just these huge differences in temperatures, between day and night. So all right, I'm gonna say hello to everybody here. Bobby is here. Miss Lady Catherine is here. Patrick is here. Cool. I'll bet you Uncle Bill is probably lurking around. Yeah, the thing is, is that I love every single thing about this place, right? Um, it it can it can get below 0 Fahrenheit here um, in the wintertime, and it can break 100 um, in the summertime. Um, and I like it all. I like it all, like every single bit. I think probably, I mean, besides besides the darkness, which is my number one thing, which is like above everything else, right? The greatest thing about this place is how dark it is. It's quiet, and except during the monsoons, which is still just fine with me. Um, it's pretty uh, dry, right? Pretty dry. We can we can. I mean, we usually have like 10% relative humidity. Uh, yeah, between 10 and 20. During the monsoons, it'll get up to 60% or so, which is nothing, right? Which is nothing compared to like the southeastern United States and the eastern coast, right? Where it's 95 degrees and 95% humidity. I don't know how they stand that, because it's just wow. That's just too much. But here it's extremely tolerable. And the thing that you have to remember is that for the most part, most people go from their air conditioned houses into their um, air conditioned cars, into their air conditioned buildings, back into their air conditioned cars, and um, back into their houses. So really, um, you know, being in the heat, um, you know, there are. I mean, you can be out in the heat for minutes per day. So if you don't like the heat, um, as long as you can pay the electric bill, um, you're fine, right? Yeah, yeah. But it's a great place. It's definitely not for everyone, right? I mean, if if you like to have things nearby, then living out where I am is not for you. Stay away. Stay there. Don't, there are people who move out here and want to have, shopping malls and um, movie theaters and all the things that a city has. And I'm one of those people that it's like, look, I chose to live in a very rural place where there are no malls, there are no movie theaters, there are no restaurants, there's nothing for miles and miles and miles, right? I mean, if we want anything decent, we have to drive on the interstate um, for over an hour, right, in order to get to the closest large town, which is Tucson. Um, and Tucson is a great town. It's really it's it's one of those towns that have a really cool vibe to it. So, if you like the desert, but still want to have, you know, sort of the city life, Tucson is a great choice. It's a really great choice because it's an awesome town. As I said, it's got a nice vibe. It's getting bigger, but it doesn't feel big, right? It doesn't have that big feeling. Now, Phoenix is huge. right? I mean, and it feels huge. It's got that big vibe, right, to it. But Tucson still has sort of this small town vibe, right? Although, you know, if you take Tucson and sort of, you know, the area around it, I think we're talking about over a maybe over a million people now. Maybe not quite that many, but there's quite a few. It's quite a few. I think Phoenix is up to like 2 or 3, 4 million, 5 million. I'm not exactly sure. Big, 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 big. So yeah, yeah. The humidity is awesome. Is very, very awesome because there's just nothing. There's almost nothing. But um, the monsoons are extremely awesome and they're extremely welcome, right? Because I mean, we really we I mean that's really the only rain that we get, right? We get a little bit of rain in the winter time. January, February can be a little bit wet, but basically March, April, May, June is dry and just getting hotter and hotter and hotter every single day. And that's the case now, right? Beautiful clear skies, as you've seen. You know, I've taken you outside a couple of times, and I want to do that a little bit more. Um, and just dry as a bone. But all the mesquite trees um, have leafed out and are in bloom right now. And what's really really cool about this time of year, um, amongst many things, uh, is that um, um, the mesquite blooms bring out all the bees and all the butterflies and all the moths and all the flying insects and stuff. So if you walk next to a mesquite tree in full bloom and you stop and you listen, right? It's all you hear is this buzzing sound, buzz, 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 buzz. It's great. It's great. It's great. I'm in southeastern Arizona, Cochise County. So yeah, it's just a square. It's just a square down in southeastern Arizona. It's my county is larger than some states, and it's extremely rural. There's a lot uh, you know, like cattle grazing, a lot of um, um, agricultural types of things. There's um, alfalfa and cotton, um, pecan trees, pistachio trees. Um, it's turned into a really, really, really amazing area for wine. So um, the wine industry here is booming, and you know there's a big fight about the water, right? Because it's a desert and there's not much, but we're on top of um, um, aquifers that supply us, and so yeah, and Patrick, uh, I'm very very near what's called the Wilcox Playa. It's a dry lake, um, pretty much right in the center of the county or so. So I'm pretty close to that. Yeah. Hello there, Gilles. We're talking geography and weather today, um, but we're going to quickly switch over to Mars. I think I want to look at Mars tonight. Cheers. So yeah, as I said, my location is not for everyone. And in fact, it's for the very few, because there's nothing out here. There's nothing at all except open land. So if you want to have all the amenities and easy access to grocery stores and shopping malls and you know the city life, there are cities to go live in, which would suit you much better. Please don't come out here and try to change my environment, because I love it the way it is. Right. Um, the green circles are the are where like the alfalfa and the cotton. I'm trying to think of other, yeah, lots of different grains. They grow corn out here. Actually, they grow sorghum. So yeah, those are big, huge uh, um, um, growing areas, and each one of those, right? Each one of those right in the centers have usually, no, that's not exactly true, but right in the middle they'll have a, um, oh, I forget what they're called, but it's the watering things, right? So it's this big long thing. It's like a big long sprinkler, right? That rotates around, so it goes in a circle, and so that's why they look like circles. But yeah, yeah, um, yeah. There's uh, no beer. Sorry, Patrick. Um, Actually, yeah, I mean, no area would be without at least a bar or two. So I think the closest little town next to me does actually have a bar, a watering hole, and so yeah, that's usually packed. So yeah, so very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's an agricultural um, area. There's actually oh, the other thing that is grown here, I think more than almost anywhere else on the planet, are chilies. There's a big, huge chili farm just to the south of me, um, um, and I think they at least in terms of volume, I think they grow the most amount of chili, at least in the United States. I don't know if that's a true statement or not, because usually California grows the most of everything. But I wouldn't be surprised. I know they have their own breeding program and all that. But also next to me is a pinto bean um, place. So uh, I can actually get locally grown pinto beans, which are fantastic. Which are fantastic. There's also a cotton gin um, next to me as well. So yeah, there's some interesting infrastructure here that yeah is very cool, very cool. So and yeah, Dry Lake is extremely interesting too. People, well, I mean, I don't think it's actually legal to go out onto the Dry Lake, but people do, right? Uh, and you can actually apparently, and I really need to do this. Apparently, you can um, go out onto the Dry Lake and find meteorites. So I should do that at some point. I sort of need a means of getting out there. The best way. um, to get out there is on one of those. Oh, what do you call them? Not a dirt bike, but the four-wheeled things. Um, I forget what they're called. Um, yeah, not a dune buggy. It's uh, um, I'm trying to think of the right term. I'm getting old too, so who knows? But yeah, I mean, it's not a place that you can drive a regular kind of vehicle. Okay, it's like an ATV, right? An all-terrain vehicle. But you can't drive your car out there. You can't drive a truck out there. You need something relatively small and something maneuverable with some big wheels on it. Um, and yeah, apparently there are meteorites out there. It was used, and I don't think it is anymore, but it was used as a bombing range. And there are stories about there being live live bombs out there still, that didn't explode, right? They um, they dropped them and they didn't explode, so they're still out there. Though those are just wild stories. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I've got a friend who took some long pieces of rebar and shoved them in the ground uh, uh, to see if he could get lightning to strike them, uh, and travel down the um, um, the rebar and glassify um, um, the clay and the sand out there to make I forget what those kinds of rocks are, but don't I I it's the kind of thing that I think he goes out and checks um, from time to time, and I haven't actually seen him in a while. Uh, I need to find out if he's gone out there to check those things lately, and if he got any of those. That would be interesting. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I'd like to go out there just to see if I could find meteorites. That would be very very cool. That same friend has found a couple, so they're out there. They're out there. There's quite a few tracks in the middle of the lake. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. The really really cool thing about that lake is Patrick, if you scan around, you can actually find ponds, right? And during the winter, there are sandhill cranes that are moving through. They're moving north or south, I forget which. And so during the months of starting about in November and going through about March or so, we get hundreds, thousands, and thousands of sandhill cranes flying overhead every single day, and it's great. I mean, it's so cool, right? It is so cool. But they're traveling through, but it's really really cool to you know uh, hear the sandhill cranes flying overhead. And yeah, they usually come about mid-November or so. Sometimes they're a little bit early, sometimes they're a little bit late. So yeah, very very cool. It's really amazing. It's really amazing um, how diverse life is out here. Um, it's extremely surprising. Here's an example. Okay, um, we've lived out here for this will be our 13th year out here, and when we first moved here, we started. counting the number of different flowers that we saw. I think we got up into the 20s and then we stopped, right? Because it's like, holy moly, really? And surprisingly enough, just today, I I was walking outside on the property. I've got 10 acres, um, and I was walking outside on the property. And one of the things that you do when you're walking around in the desert is that you look down, right? You don't look out, you don't look up, right? You need to look down because there are two primary hazards, right? One is either holes or things that you don't want to walk in or through, right? And the other thing is critters, things that can bite and squeeze and yeah, make for a bad day, right? So when you are out in the desert, right, you wear heavy shoes or boots, right? And at least jeans, if not anything more, right? You cover your legs, you cover your feet in something relatively heavy, right? Because there are lots of critters who don't know any better, right? They think that you know you're coming along to get them, and so they're going to defend themselves, right, in their own way. They're not after us, I mean, they're not interested in us. They want to get away from us, right? But if they feel threatened, like if they're stepped on, then they're probably going to, try to do something about that. So yeah, all right. Well, I've talked way enough about things non-astronomical. I want to go to a different planet. Yeah, there are in my area. I think there are at least 5 or 6 different kinds of scorpions, at least 5 or 6 different kinds of snakes. Several of them poisonous. Um, we've got the coral snakes, we've got the diamondbacks, we've got the kings. I think they're called king snakes. I don't know, but I like them all. I like them all. They're they're beautiful, right? They're extremely intelligent, and um, as I said, at least my encounters with these guys have been a situation where it's like it's all they want to do is get away, right? So sometimes I'll find them in a place where I really don't want them, and so I'll get a big long like a big long piece of like PVC pipe or something like that, like a 10-foot length or so, and I will sort of escort them, you know, out, and they are extremely happy to get away. But yeah, when you're walking around um, in the desert, especially like in the mornings, right? Um, I'll be walking around here and I'll step right next to a snake, that's all curled up because it's cold, right? And they're asleep. They really can't move anyway. So you just got to be careful. You just got to be careful, and no problem, no problem. So uh, and yeah, um, Patrick, that's a easy price to pay. That's extremely easy price to pay because um, 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 the benefits for me personally are absolutely huge. So yeah, I mean, as I said, it is not. This is not a place for most people because it's too far. It's too far away from things, and it's just a little. I mean, it's pretty wild, right? I mean, it is the Wild West. It definitely is the Wild West. I'm actually, I think as the crow flies, I'm about 25 miles away from Tombstone. Yeah, you know, it's the Wild West out here, not for um, everyone. You know, if you uh, um, if you want all the accommodations of a city, there's a city relatively close. You go there. Nice place. Nice place. All right. Well, what I wanted to do tonight was I wanted to go over and look at Mars. We haven't been over to Mars in a while, so I thought that we could just share that journey. I was over at the high rise site looking looking over there, and they really hadn't updated their latest images uh, lately. So I was like, well, that's kind of a bummer. So instead, in you know, high rise is a camera that is mounted on one of the satellites, the Mars Reconnaissance um, Orbiter (MRO), and so that's looking at Mars, you know, from above. Okay, but we have, I think right now we have two rovers, two operating rovers on the ground. There's Opportunity, which is still which is still going, right? It's been 14 years, I think 14 years. Opportunity has um, been going, and you know, it's just keeps going, right? But the other uh, rover that we have is what's called the Mars Science Laboratory, MSL, otherwise known as the Curiosity rover. Curiosity. And um, Curiosity is a science laboratory on wheels, right? So it can move around, but it has, you know, sort of a little bit of a lab on board, so it can do, you know, some pretty amazing kinds of analyses, and it has a lot of cameras. So that's what we're going to be looking at here is actually the surface of Mars, right? So these these folks are really awesome. They have um, up to date images. I mean, these, I'm not exactly sure. So SOL is pronounced Sol, right? Sol, and that's a day on Mars, right? So a day on Mars is something like well, let's find out. I think it's a little more than 24 Earth hours. Um, it's like 24 hours, 40 minutes, or something like that. Let's find out. Let's see, Mars. Good old Wikipedia, probably. Yeah. Let's see how it is on Mars, or as it's called, a sol. People pronounce it Sol, but apparently the correct the correct pronunciation is Sol. So I'm looking over on the right hand side there. Um, well, am I not seeing it? It's got to be here somewhere. Some major axis synodic period, average orbital speed, inclination, mean radius, polar volume, mass, state velocity. There it is. Yeah. So in terms of Earth time, right? It's 24 hours, 37 minutes, 22 seconds. Yeah, so about 24 hours and 40 minutes or so. So a Mars day, a Sol, is a little bit longer than an Earth day. It's kind of an interesting coincidence, don't you think, that the that a Martian day and an Earth day are about the same, and the the axis tilt of Mars and the axis tilt of Earth are also about the same. It's called the obliquity. Where's the obliquity here? On the Earth, it's about 23.5 degrees. And let's see if we can find it for Mars here. Where is it? I'm not seeing that. 25.19. So it's just it's an interesting coincidence to me that the Martian and uh, Terran days are about the same length, and the Martian and Terran axial tilt are about the same as well. That seems like a very odd coincidence to me. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Um, and yeah, the people who are actually running, operating the uh, um, the rovers on the ground actually live, um, their lives are on Martian time. So their days are Martian days, not Earth days. And so yeah, I mean it's a little bit off, right? So yeah, kind of interesting. Um, and it makes for a slightly longer day, right? So yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, so these folks have been kind enough to provide us with these, um, images. And probably what we should do first, let's go see exactly where Curiosity is right now. So I think, let's see, where is that? Where is that? Where is Curiosity? So let's just see where Curiosity is first. So let's see. So Curiosity has driven 19.07 um, kilometers right now. So yeah, right now, okay, on Mars at the location of Curiosity, it is just at the end of Sol 2056. Okay, so that's the date and the time, right? As of right now. So what, 2:44 UTC on Earth on the 20th of May is Curiosity time. Sol 2056, 23 hours 44 minutes. So very cool. Um, so these just sort of give a overview map of where Curiosity has been and where it is now, and it's virtually impossible to see this path. Let's we zoom in here. Yeah, let's see. I'm guessing. Okay, so here's, it's probably hard to read, but here's Sol 2040, 2041. Here's 44. Then it made a right-hand turn, 2045, 2047, 2051, 2052. 2052 is where it is now. And let's see, we can go back over here and we can start looking at the surface of Mars. So you can see they're up to Sol 2056. So this is very current, right? Extremely current. So they have a bunch of these cameras. They have these hazard avoidance cameras, which are, sort of low res, um, uh, not very wide field. I think they're just grayscale, no color, anything like that. But I find all of these images just absolutely astonishing. It's absolutely amazing. So these are images that came down just yesterday, right? Just yesterday. Let's take a look. Check it out. You can even see the shadows, right? Shadows. And look at that fine sand, that fine grained sand. And you see the shapes of the shadows here? Look at these weird things sticking out and all that. That's just cool. That's a different planet, people. This is a totally different planet. And we're sitting there, as if we're, like feet away, right? We could reach out. We could reach out and touch these things. They're so close. You can see the wheel over here on the right. Here's another wheel on the left. And then the shadow of some of the camera parts. And look at that. Look at that just amazing, breathtaking landscape. Mind-blowing landscape. So they've got this instrument. I forget what it's called, but it's a device that they can use to actually drill down into this rock and grab samples, right? So that's actually what they're doing right there, right? Is they're drilling into that rock. Is that cool or what? They are extremely careful about all this. This is extremely slow going, right? I mean, to the extreme, because they're so careful and they're so paranoid that you know something's going to break, right? They don't want anything to break, so they're really super careful. I don't know if this must be some kind of sunrise, because look at the shadow, how long the shadow is here. So this has got to be like sunrise on Mars. Oh my God. How cool is that? Wow. We're watching sunrise on Mars. Yeah. Now, it looks like these shots were taken, several hours after these. In fact, we can look. They even have the little timestamps here. All right, well, look, they're saying, and I'm going to have to think about this a little bit because I don't know. They're saying that this image with this big long shadow, doesn't that look like a shadow? I think that looks like a shadow to me. I don't know. Was taken at 8:17:59 UTC. And this image, okay, yeah. That's about 3 hours, right? Yeah, that makes sense. It's about 3 hours later, you get that. Shadow quite a bit shorter. Okay, I can sort of buy that. Yeah. I can buy that. But look at that amazing landscape. Wow, mind blowing. And that's with a pretty low resolution, narrow field of view, kind of shitty camera, right? See what else they've got. So that's Sol 255. So they have the same kinds of cameras, but pointed towards the back of um, the rover. Doesn't look like they took as many images, but let's look anyway, just for fun. Sort of see see what they're seeing. Okay, and you can see the tire tracks, right? This is where it has been. So this is looking backwards. So that's kind of cool. See where they've been. Messing up Mars. Look at that, man. They're putting these ugly, disgusting tire tracks all over pristine Mars. Supposedly, right? Supposedly, nothing, nothing like this has ever been on this planet. And look at how it's messing up the ground. Man, how rude. We got tire tracks all over Mars. I don't know. Seems a little rude. So let's see. They've also got these navigation um, cameras, which I think are a little higher res. So let's stick with the same Sol here, right? Sol 2055, which was yesterday, and see what these are. Navigation cameras, I think those can be made into color images. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, this was looking at a little bit later, 1818 yesterday. So yeah, now you can sort of see the difference between where um, where you were looking with the hazard cameras and where the navigation cameras are. So this is that same drilling tool, right? That was going to drill into this big rock here, right? So this is just a different view because of course the camera's in a different place. So, but isn't that awesome? I mean, we're seeing this little rocks and little sand dunes and this really bizarre looking rock. Look at all these weird layers and oh, man, this is like, you know, I guess this is either like a geologist's heaven or a geologist's hell, right? I don't know which. I mean, I'm not a geologist and it drives me insane, right? Because it's stunning. It's just absolutely stunning. And this is where, I I mean, I can really put myself right there, right? Because this stuff that we're seeing here is on a human scale. I mean, these little rocks and things, right? You could hold in your hand, right? And I mean, look at that. It's just wow. Just amazing. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else interesting here? No. I mean, it's all extremely interesting, but so that's obviously maybe before they started the drilling. Although maybe that's afterwards. Yeah, not quite sure. Let's see the timestamps here. Yeah, see, this is 1818 and this is 1445 on the same day. So this is before maybe drilling, although there's some here with at 1320. So yeah, it looks like they put the drill down and then they pulled it back up and then so maybe they drilled and then they looked and then they were going to drill again. I don't know. It's all conjecture on my part. Yeah, it sort of looks like maybe there's a drill hole right there. Kind of hard to tell. Let's see. I don't know if we can tell from one of these where they were drilling. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Kind of hard to tell exactly where they were there. But yeah, maybe that's a drill hole that we're seeing there. sort of looks like a hole with some stuff around it. So yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, we're drilling holes into Mars too. How rude. So of course there's a left navigation camera, which is what we were just looking at. There's also a right navigation camera. You can sort of see, they've identified where these cameras are. So, here's the left one, here's the right one. So let's look at the right one. There's a few more images with the right one. Obviously the same operation. Yeah. So the cool thing is that I think you can sort of make the, well, I guess if they do the alignment right, you can make these into stereo pairs, and that's one of the tools that they use in order to move around, and also get a sense of scale, because I mean otherwise, I mean, if you look at this, it's kind of hard to tell really how far away it is, right? But if you can get two cameras on this, then you can get a little bit of parallax and see. But it's kind of an interesting looking rock, and there's this weird thing sticking out here. Look at all these little fragments. God, just amazing. What an amazing place. I mean, it's as and I mean, I say that I would say that for any planet. I mean, I walk around on my property looking at the rocks and the dirt, and I think exactly the same thing. It's like, wow, what an amazing place, right? Absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. So that's the navigation cameras. So there are some science cameras as well. I think the trying to remember which one of these cameras is actually on that little drill. Maybe it's on a different thing all together. But uh, there's sort of a very, very narrow field, sort of high magnification camera here, and I think that's this one, um, that allows us to see up really close. Look at the same day, all 2055, and just sort of see what they're up to here. Um, so of course you can see that these are in color, and yeah, so this is very zoomed in, right? We're looking at very, very small structures here. Don't know exactly what we're looking at. Um, Kind of hard to tell. Kind of hard to tell. These, wow. I wonder if this is natural, or if that's something that our rover has done. In terms of like drilling or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to get context here. Um, but pretty amazing. Okay, this looks like a zoomed out image. I'll bet you that what they did is they used one of the drill tools to sort of buff off this top layer, sort of spin it around, because this round stuff doesn't look too natural to me. But they just sort of wanted to scrape off that top stuff to get down a little bit more, right? So yeah, we're seeing little rocks and little cracks and everything. But yeah, notice how the color changes, right? Pretty sure that this is sort of they've sort of buffed off that thin top layer to reveal things inside of this rock a little bit. So yeah, wow, it's just pretty amazing. But again, I'm not quite sure what the scale is. My guess is that this all the way across is probably just a few inches across. It's my guess. Wild, educated guess. Pretty cool looking though. Look at that. All those cracks and all those weird, weird looking layers of who knows what. Just like they look like just rocks sitting on top of it. It's like, what is going on? I don't know. That's pretty cool though. We are so lucky, aren't we, to be living in a time where not only can all of us be here, um, sitting in our little virtual circle of friends, um, talking astronomy, but we can also look at another planet, right, up close, really up close. So probably the most fun images and the ones that you see the most are from the mast cam. These are the wide field cameras, way up top of the rover. And look at that, they've got 117 images from Sol 2055. So let's see what they've got. A lot of them are probably going to be yeah, thumbnails, thumbnails. Um, okay, yeah. See, this is how they're looking at the little tool that they used to scrape off, right? Um, just kind of brush off that um, um, top layer off of that rock, right? So this whole thing will spin, right, and sort of scrape off that top that top bit, right? So wow, that is very cool. It's so it's so weird, to see sort of a recognizable thing on Mars, right? Wow, isn't that cool? There's some exposed wires up here. Look at that. Probably for power, right? Because there's probably an electrical motor in here, right? So they got to have power going in there, and somebody probably screwed those screws in, and I mean, if it was me, I'd be looking at those screws going, "Phew, I did it right." Okay, so here's another cool view, looking sort of down at it. You can see a little bit of the material, right? All the rocky dust and all that. Oh, and look at all these wires everywhere. That's cool. Wow. Yeah, yeah. I think Gilles, Viking, that I was already extremely interested, in space and all that, and I remember Viking pretty well, although I really hadn't, you know, I I was still a, just a little bit too young to fully grasp what was going on. I thought it was very cool. I thought it was extremely exciting, but I I wasn't quite old enough to really, be able to grasp what what was happening. Um, but yeah, that was an exciting time for sure. I'm not quite sure what these other things are. Let me see if I can look at it and see. Yeah, there's some kind of calibration images of some sort. Not exactly sure. Might be looking at the sun through a filter. It's really hard to tell. Might be looking at out of focus stars. It's really, really, really hard to tell uh, what what we're seeing there. But it looks like calibration data of some sort, which, I mean, that it's extremely, extremely important to have good calibration data, because if you want to have good science, right, then you only want the information that's coming from the object that you're studying, right? You don't want any information coming from the instrumentation itself. So you have to figure out, what data is coming from the instrumentation, and be able to separate that from the data, that's coming from uh, whatever you're looking at, right? So calibration data is critical, and the more calibration data you can have, the better. So I don't mind. I don't mind a bit. Let's go back in time a little bit here, maybe a few days ago, and just select a few more of these, and then I'll let you go for tonight. But I love looking at Mars. That's one of the other, and it's kind of interesting. That sort of ties into what I was talking about earlier. Where I'm located, okay, where I'm located, if you were to remove all the vegetation, it would look just like Mars. I mean, identical. There's no, there really doesn't seem to be that much of a difference. I mean, the mountains look the same. The color of the dirt looks exactly the same. It's this, it's this orangish, reddish color. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. But yeah, a lot of these are um, calibration images for color, and making sure that your positions of instrumentation are all the same and all that. And the reason why you see, like multiple um, images of the same thing, is that they are looking at the same thing, but with slightly different filters. Okay, so for instance, they may be looking at this area in like red and green and blue, just as an example, right? Um, let's use let's use well, yeah, doesn't matter exactly. Then they can actually say, okay, let's make this red, let's make this green, let's make this blue. We'll combine them and um, make a color image, right? And that's what these are, right? Now, what I want to do, and I'm going to put this high on my agenda, I am going to figure out once and for all how to do this myself, how to take this data, um, and there's a great program. It's called GIMP, and GIMP is a lot like Photoshop, right? Except it's a free one, open source. It's awesome. I've used GIMP for as long as it's been around, which is 15 years at least. I don't know, um, but I've never sat down and figured out how to combine, you know, like take three images and say, let's make this red, that green, and that blue, and combine them into an image. And I want to do that anyway for other purposes. So yeah, I'm going to make that a priority. And when I figure out how to do that, I'm going to do it on a live stream. I think that'll be very, very cool, because then I'll be able to do that with not only these Mars images, but I can do it with anything, right? We can go out to Jupiter and grab images from Juno and do exactly the same thing, right? Um, or anything, right? But yeah, these are obviously very, very amazing images. I'd seen the pictures around 1980. Oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. So you sort of saw Mars Viking after the fact. Yeah, I remember sort of watching it pretty much live, and being like, wow, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. So yeah, yeah. And Venus, man, we got to go to Venus. We got to do something about that. Look at that, though. Look at it. It's, I mean, as I said, I mean, I walk around my um, property and think that these exact same thoughts, and that is, how did that rock get there, right? And so when I look at shit like this, right, it's like, how did these rocks get there? I mean, they're just sort of, you know, and how long have they been there? Look how smooth they are, right? Look how smooth these rocks are. How can they possibly get that smooth? I don't know. Don't know. I mean, there are theories, right, that Mars once had liquid water, and so maybe these rocks, were once underwater, and were jostled around, just like rocks on Earth are, and made smooth. I don't know. Can dust in the wind, can that smooth these things out? I don't know. I don't know. And these weird structures that just sort of stick out just drive me insane, right? Wow. Let's see. Is there anything else interesting here? It's a bunch of calibration data. Well, let's just look at one of these two, just to sort of see what they're looking at. Look at these weird things, little veins of who knows what, right? I don't know. It's a crazy mystery. Look at that. It's just like elevated above. I mean, it's not, right? It's sort of like Frank Lloyd Wright, with his floating things. And look at this weird little structure there. Yeah, weird stuff. So awesome. So incredibly awesome. Anything else interesting here? I don't know. It's all interesting. Wow. Very cool. All right. Well, I think I'm going to let all of you folks go. Stop sharing. Get back over here. And I will say goodbye for now. Hope you enjoyed. Um, yeah, I like to, I mean, I don't I don't mind repeating things on this live stream from time to time, right? I mean, I think, looking at Mars every single day, okay, that's going to get a little bit boring. But there's so much in astronomy um, to talk about, that having some kind of, like a random rotation of things uh, is perfectly fine. there's there there there's so much, right? There's so much that you know, almost don't have to repeat at all. But I like to come back to things because stuff like that, the Curiosity rover, they update these things every single day, right? Every single day there's something brand new, and so it's nice to check up on those things from time to time, and spend a little bit of time just looking, right? And not necessarily worrying so much about an explanation, right? I mean, that's what scientists always want to do is they want to try to explain stuff and they want to try to figure things out and all that. And I mean, I find myself doing that, right? It's just sort of a natural thing um, that I'll do. But really, what I like to do, especially in these kinds of live streams, is just sit back and observe and just see things, you know, um, take them in, maybe explain a little bit, just to, add a little bit of depth, right? A little bit of depth, but for the most part, just sit back and look at things and just be in complete awe um, of this universe that we're in, which is just it's it's so mind-blowingly amazing that uh, yeah, it's it's just great. It's just great, and that's why I'm so involved in the astronomical world because that's my means of being able to you know dive into these things and because it's just so wow, right? I mean, it's all so incredible. All right, I'm gonna get out of here for now. Hope you all have a great evening and a great day. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to. If you're watching this later and not live, howdy, howdy. Glad you could come in and watch. Um, I do notice um, um, that um, the number of views do grow over the course of a day, so that's extremely cool. Make sure to share this around. If you know others who you think might be into this kind of thing, um, point them my direction. You know, send me an email. Say hi. If you have any kinds of questions or anything else, you can email me anytime. Cosmiclettuce at gmail.com. And if you're so inclined, I can put you on the panel, right? This is a Google Hangout. So if you're so inclined, um, uh, I could have you as like a video guest, and I think there are like 10 slots here that can be filled, and I could put my headphones on, and we can have a live conversation that way if you're so inclined. So send me an email about that, and then I'll send you a link to how to hook up here too. That that hasn't happened yet in this live stream, and I think it'd be moderately interesting to at least experiment a little bit with it, to see if it'll work. So yeah, someday. All right. Well, for now, I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, yeah, they are calling. So I'm going to get out of here for now. I will see you in a little less than 23 hours from now. Take care, peace, cheers, and all of that. And I will see you. I'll see you on the spin. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.